Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Good morning, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Before we get started, just want to wish my bro, Jeff, a happy birthday. It's a big one for him today, so happy birthday, Jeff, if you're seeing or listening to this at any spot. I'm Ray Flowers at FantasyGuru.com. You can find me here. You can find us here every day, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, rocking and rolling with the free show from FantasyGuru.com. You can follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at The Ray Flowers, so check me out there. You can find me here, and we got a lot of things that are going now, so stick with me for a second here, folks, before we get to today's show. Number one, we've got this show Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can watch that show in a variety of ways. You can watch it on youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. You can listen to it live at FG. If you just go directly to Fantasy Guru, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network and just take us on the go with you, whether it's Spotify or what are some of the other places where we're at? Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily. If you watch on, and again, you can watch on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitter X, you can leave comments and questions that we will address throughout the show. So many ways to get involved with us here on the show, live as well as just listening or watching. We're on Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go about an hour. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesdays, Justin Festerman hosts the show. And so that's how we roll here. Then we have the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. That's at 3 o'clock Eastern Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Monday through Friday. When I'm not here Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays. So I'm here 4 days a week. I'm with Jeff 1 day a week on the show on SiriusXM. Justin and I tag team for Elite Sports Game Time. So the Game Time show is on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio from 8 to 10 Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So we're here at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Jeff's on SiriusXM Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Justin and I are on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio 8 to 10 Eastern on Game Time. So lots of Ray Flowers, lots of Jeff Vance, lots of Justin Festerman, lots of FantasyGuru.com. So make sure you check that out. What are we talking about on the show today? Well, let's throw it up on the old screen. We got a lot to talk about. We'll kind of close the discussion on torpedo bats. I'm kind of tired of talking about this, but we'll close that down here at the start of the show. We'll talk about Christian Campbell and the contract he signed. Jackson Merrill got a contract. Ketel Marte got a contract. These contracts in season, so early in the season, really interesting. So we'll talk about some of those guys. Again, we'll discuss a bunch of players as well. Victor Robles, Ivan Herrera with that huge 3-home run game yesterday. Esteury Ruiz got signed. Do we care? Bryan Reynolds on 100%. Tarik Skubal struggling a little bit. Jack Leiter not struggling at all. And then a bunch of bullpen notes. I'll have to talk about there. In about 25 or so minutes, it's a Thursday, so we'll visit with Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com. We're talking with him last week, this week, and then the next 2 weeks. We'll talk about draft needs. Jeff is actually doing this as well. Jeff Mann's on his Elite Sports Show, again, 3 o'clock Eastern on SiriusXM, Fantasy Sports Radio. So Jeff is doing this as well, but we're doing it here with Tyler. Today we're talking the NFC and AFC North. What are the team needs for all 8 of those squads? Tyler and I will talk about that in 25 minutes. Don't forget to go to FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up for whatever you want. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, soccer, whatever it is, we got you covered. Click the subscribe tab at the top of the page. And also you can send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. All right, torpedo bats, we talked all about it. For those people that haven't seen torpedo bats, you're probably not a fan of baseball because it's been a major story. Instead of the traditional tapered look, right, it's more of the bowling pin look. So it's fat in the middle and kind of gets thinner at the top. We've been talking on the show, and I've asked everyone, hey, have you heard about this before? What's the history of this? That everyone's seeming like it's brand new. It's not brand new. According to Sam Blum of The Athletic, the Yankees developed the torpedo bat in 2022. The Cubs started working with them last season. This is not new. Okay, so just to put it out there, again, I'm trying to find the full-on answer. I don't think we have a full-on answer because, it's one of those things like who invented it, when did they invent it, all that kind of thing. But the bottom line is torpedo bat's been around for a long time. You don't go to a torpedo bat and all of a sudden it changes everything about your offensive game. The Cubs were using it last year. Alex Bregman, who we've got listed here on the screen, he's experimenting with the Torpedo bat, and with his weird, choppy, short swing that he has, I could see him using the Torpedo bat and seeing it helping him. He's going to use it. He's been using it in the cage. He's going to use it in batting practice out on the field as well, but he hasn't decided whether he's going to use it or not. So he's one of the many guys you're hearing are now really, as the secret is out, if you will. Everyone's aware of it. Folks are going to try it. We've talked about it on previous shows. Again, I'm not going to relitigate it here. Torpedo bats are apparently here to stay, and they'll be here to stay. And there are certain batters, I'm sure, that it feels better for them. I'm certain batters that we'll see an advantage to it. I would anticipate the majority of players not changing bats. We'll see how it all goes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the contract issues here in Major League Baseball. Christian Campbell, following in the footsteps of Ceddanne Rafaela, has signed a long-term contract with the Red Sox, and Campbell's done nothing. Now, he's an elite prospect. He had a strong spring. He made the club because of it. And he's expected to be a fantasy stalwart for years. So what the Red Sox did is they gave him an 8-year, $60 million contract. Now, this contract has extensions that the team holds for 2033 and 2034. God, so long from now, right? But they have extensions there. So the extensions can become $19 million and $21 million. So this can become a 10-year, $100 million deal. Now, we've talked about this as well. If I'm a player and someone offers me $60 to $100 million, it's hard to say no, especially when you've done nothing. I mean, Christian Campbell could blow his knee out in catastrophic nature next week and never be able to run again. Like his career could be over there. He might have to amputate the lower half of his leg. He'd still get $60 million. So it's tough for these players to turn this down. Why are teams willing to do this? We've also discussed the economics of baseball. The fact is teams control players for 6 years. Depending if you were a Super 2 player or not a Super 2 player, the team either has 4 years of arbitration with you or more often 3 years of arbitration with you. You can sit down the player and the team and they can say, look, if you are a moderate baseball player, you're going to make this. If you do an excellent job your first 3 seasons, you're going to make this. Like, you can play this game out. And what the team says is, look, maybe the team says for the next 8 years, the $60 million we're giving you. If everything goes right for you, you could do 8 years and $85 million. If everything goes wrong for you, you could do 8 years and $35 million. You want to go 8 and 60, and let's do. So this is what teams are starting to do. And again, it's life-changing money. It's generational wealth. We're not talking about $60,000, even $600,000. We're talking about $60 million for a guy who's 22 years old who's done nothing. Hard to turn that down. So that's what they did. The short term, Campbell's a second baseman here. Marcelo Mayer is continuing what was a hot spring down in the minor leagues. So there's some whispers there. When's he going to get called up? The Red Sox basically have a glut of middle infielders. They've got David Hamilton around. They've got Vaughn Grissom that they sent down. This really probably comes down to, can Trevor Story stay healthy? If Trevor Story is injured, or I guess more appropriately when he's injured, because that's been his track record, the Red Sox will have a ton of options to turn to up the middle. Right now they got too many guys. These things usually tend to work themselves out. Don't forget Roman Anthony out in the outfield. So future is very bright for the youngsters of the Red Sox. And oh, by the way, Rafael Devers even had 2 hits yesterday. So look at us now. Things are turning up for the Red Sox. Jackson Merrill, who we had a bet on yesterday and we hit over at fantasyguru.com. 7 for my last line on the bets. I should have done that Shohei Ohtani one. That had lined up for last night. I just didn't post it. Would have been 8 for 10. But 7 for my last 9 the last 3 days. I don't know how many bets we're going to have up today. It's only a 5-game slate. It's a tiny slate, Major League Baseball. Maybe there'll be a bet or 2 up at fantasyguru.com. You can always click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Started out tremendously slow the first couple of days, and then again, 7 for 9 here of late. We're at a 57% success rate thus far. That'll play. If we can hold that all season long, I'll be happy. So that's where we're at over at FG. But put a bet for 1.5 total bases for Jackson Merrill yesterday. He went out and hit a home run, so obviously blew past that. He signed a 9-year, $135 million contract. And this also goes to show you, like, if Christian Campbell doesn't sign a contract and Christian Campbell goes out and wins AL Rookie of the Year this year, I mean, we're talking $60 to $135 million. That's a massive difference. So it's that almost a game of chicken. Christian Campbell could go out and hit 210 this year, lose his starting spot on May 6th, and not get any contract. Like, what would you do if it was you in that situation? Jackson Merrill signed a 9-year, $135 million deal. The deal can go up to $204 million over 10 years. If he hits escalator clauses, the team picks up club options, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I love San Diego, and if they were to give me 9 for 135 and say, look, you can make $200 million over the next 10, I'm signing it too. So Jackson Merrill, who had that tremendous season last year, was off to a good start this season, hit the bet yesterday, loving life now. I think the bottom line is you sign a contract, we're playing you in fantasy. Not really, but you get the point. Jackson Merrill should be expected to at least, I think he should be expected to replicate last season. I mean, he had 290 with 24 home runs and 16 steals. I mean, so he's on the cusp of fantasy stardom anyway. Let's go 280, 2020, right? Now, again, remember, Julio Rodriguez was a 280 or 270, 30-30 guy, and he backtracked last year. So, but his game, Jackson Merrill, tremendous. And one thing he does deserve credit for, he was a shortstop until last year. He transitioned to the outfield because that's what the team needed him to do. That might be the most impressive piece. Jackson Merrill getting paid. He's going to be a part of the Padres organization for the next decade, and he's getting paid for it. The Diamondbacks signed Ketel Marte to an extension. This is a really strange one. They signed an extension that gets reported as $116.5 million. So $116.5 million. Really, though, it's a $64 million add-on to the contract you already had. So it's kind of weird. Like I almost feel like football reading this one, right? It's like, well, this is the number, but this is really the number, but this isn't the number. The bottom line is he's going to be with the Diamondbacks for years. It's going to go through 2031. There's a player option on the deal as well. He's doing the deferred thing. There's $46 million deferred. That's not close to what the Dodgers obviously did with guys like Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts, but it's $46 million in deferred money. So the Diamondbacks taking advantage of the opportunity that Major League Baseball provides with the contracts. We've discussed that on the show here previously. I don't think they should allow them to do that. I think it's bad for baseball that they allow them to do that, but it's legal. And it allows the Diamondbacks to keep Ketel Marte, who was a top 3 second baseman, according to everybody, I think, heading into the season, who's got the potential to be a top 5 second baseman for the majority of this contract. He's obviously established himself, feels very comfortable with the Diamondbacks, and they gave him that extension to make that a reality. Okay, let's move on from that. Look at this. Angelo. Ray's favorite SP, Carlos Carrasco, is pitching today versus the Diamondbacks. Yeah, the Yankees, as we've discussed here, on life support. I mean, when you're starting Carlos Carrasco, you're in bad shape. Carlos Rodon is not someone we're going to talk about, but he took a ball off his non-pitching arm yesterday. X-rays are clear that he didn't break anything, which is good news. He's expected to make his next start, but you look at this rotation right now, Carrasco, Marcus Stroman, and Will Warren. Ugh. I mean, of course, they lost Garrett Cole, they lost Luis Gil, and Clark Schmidt is not in the rotation. Good news with Clark Schmidt. I might as well just throw that out there since we're talking about him. It looks like he'll be back really soon. In fact, it could be next week. So Clark Schmidt, is that right? I'm going to say that. Let me verify that. I think his next outing, next outing might be on the Major League level. You end up in a fever dream and you kind of blow through information. You're not set to return in mid-April. Yeah, okay. So April 15th or 16th. So misspoke. 2 weeks from now, Clark Schmidt should be back. So that will help a lot for the Yankees, and they can move on from Carlos Carrasco. Okay, next up, Seiya Suzuki. Seiya Suzuki had 2 home runs yesterday, 5 RBIs and a walk. He sucked all the life out of the opponent, the Athletics, and the Cubs lineup. Kyle Tucker wasn't able to hit his hit, run, and RBI prop because all Seiya Suzuki did was hit home runs and drive everyone in front of Kyle Tucker. As we talked about on the show as well, it's kind of frustrating if you were following that bet over at FG. Kyle Tucker hit a ball really hard in this game, had an expected batting average of 450, and was an out. Those are the breaks sometimes. But Seiya Suzuki has got 4 home runs and 11 RBIs in 4 days. And I'm starting to really get the sense, if you haven't already got it or picked it up, that Seiya Suzuki and Kyle Tucker are going to make some sweet music this year. The question with Suzuki, who is 30 years old, is can he stay healthy? It's really easy to forget because he hasn't gotten there. How much hype came into 2022 when he came over? He played 111 games. Then he played 138 games and 132 games. So he hasn't played 140 games yet. The last 2 seasons, he's averaged 20 home runs and about, 12 steals. Last year, he went 20-15. I think it's very reasonable to suggest that he goes 20-15 this year. But if he plays every day, if he plays 150 games, I mean, he's hit 280 the last 2 years. So we're talking 280, 20, 90. 90, 15. I mean, we're talking Jackson Merrill, right? I think that's really doable for Seiya Suzuki. And I don't think it takes a tremendous amount to suggest that if he keeps this thing together, it could be 290, 295, maybe even 300 if things really go together. It could be 25 to 30 home runs. It could be 100 RBIs. So Seiya Suzuki's off to a good start. Question with Suzuki, like so many others in Major League Baseball, is how many games he's going to play this year. Victor Robles. There is a player profile about Victor Robles over at fantasyguru.com. There's a lot of excitement about Victor Robles. He went to the Mariners last season and rekindled a career that started with a bang with the Nationals and had been on life support ever since. A lot of people were extremely excited about Victor Robles. It is unfair at this point in time, as we talked about on the show, as the articles we talked about over at FG. It's unfair to judge anybody off of a week and a half of games. So I'm not going to judge Victor Robles off a week and a half of games. What I will tell you is that we discussed in the player profile on him, the expectations were just too high. There were people talking 40, 50 steals. There were people talking about him hitting 285, 290. There were people looking at him as a 20 home run bat. I mean, who knows? And again, he almost went 20-30 his first full season in the big leagues back in 2019. Okay. Okay, I get it. But Seattle's a tough place to hit. His numbers with the Mariners were obviously sample size induced last season. He was never going to hold on to that. We are 7 games into this right now, and in the early going, he has 0 walks. He's not a guy that ever, he's only had 1 season where he's really been league average in the walk rate. So he's not a walks guy, but no walks in 7 games is terrible. This is a player whose exit velocity numbers are down, the barrel rate's down, the hard hit rate's down. We do not have enough information to say that any of that data that I just shared is who he is this season. Not even close. But the numbers that are down this season look a lot like who he was prior to last season. So anyway, I think in the case of Victor Robles, if he's on your team, you just got to wait it out. He started off slowly. It's been a week. He could catch fire and hit 350 the next week. But I think the expectations were too high with Victor Robles heading into the season. Brandon A. says, good morning, Ray. Happy birthday, Jeff. Hope all is well with everyone because it's a Friday. Brandon, it's not Friday. It's Thursday. But thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate that. My brother, I'm sure Jeff, if he's watching, will appreciate it as well. So thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Ivan Herrera hit 3 home runs, had 6 RBIs yesterday, and had a walk. And all of his home runs went at least 395 feet. StatCast said that every ball he hit for the home run yesterday would have been a home run at every park. And he's the first Cardinal catcher ever to have 3 home runs in a game. It was a tremendous effort. Not only was it a tremendous effort, you look at Herrera's numbers and they are sparkling. So starting to get the, Ivan Herrera's on the waiver wire, should I add him thing. Number one, realize that you've missed not just the best game of his career, you missed the best game he's going to have this season, and you've missed the best 5-game stretch he's probably ever going to have. Okay, because in these 5 games, he's gone 7 for 15. He's got 8 RBIs, and his OPS is 1,700. Okay, so you've missed all of that. So let's pull it back to reality. Who is Ivan Herrera? Ivan Herrera is a very good offensive player. Okay, he's about 25 years old. He's going to play most days because Wilson Contreras was moved to first base full time. I might have undervalued Herrera coming into the season. Maybe I think we had him at 17 or something at catcher. What do we have him at? The final rankings had him at 17. Maybe I should have had him 12, 13, something like that. Bottom line is he is in play as a catcher 1 if you're in a deeper league. If you're in a 2-catcher league, he was drafted, so it doesn't matter. He's 100 games into his career right now, and he's batting almost 300 with a 370 on base percentage. Now, these are really good numbers. Not afraid to take a walk. Strikeout rate's about league average. There will go. So let's not get worried about that at all. The barrel rate is pretty good. It's almost 10% for his career. 43% hard hit rate works. Exit velocity is about 90 miles an hour. The bottom line is he looks, in some ways, very similar to Wilson Contreras in terms of what could happen if he plays 120 games this year, as is hoped by the Cardinals. If he's on the waiver wire, you can add him. I had a question this morning in Discord, Gabriel Moreno, are you dropping Moreno? I wouldn't drop Moreno, but it's very close. If you've got Gabriel Moreno, if you've got, Austin Wells, if you got Ryan Jeffers, if you got one of these guys and you want to pivot to Herrera, go for it. You're not moving on from Diaz and the Contreras brothers and Will Smith, okay. But this is a very intriguing start to a guy that looks like he's on his way to a strong season. Brandon, by the way, says it's always Friday. I wish it was always Friday. Actually, it doesn't really matter because I work on the weekends anyway. For all of you, I wish it was a Friday. All right. And Angelo says it's always Saturday for me. I'm retired. Angelo's got you there, Brandon. Yeah. I wish it was always Saturday for sure. I like Saturday. The Dodgers acquired Esteury Ruiz. We talked about Ruiz and said let's watch him, see where he ends up. Maybe he ends up in a place where he's going to play every day, and all of a sudden we're getting a lot of Victor Scott vibes, and people are going to remember this guy, 50 stolen base and all that. He signed with the Dodgers. Terrible. So this NL only play, sure, go for it, because you never know when he might get out there. But from a mixed league standpoint, no path to success for Esteury Ruiz. So there you go. Mark P. asks about Hunter Goodman. Mark, we've talked about Goodman on the show repeatedly the last couple of weeks. I've written about him over at fantasyguru.com as well. The bottom line is he is a big-time power bat. He's done so well through spring training into the season that he's got the outlook of a guy that the Rockies have to continue to play on a daily basis. So he's an exciting potential power bat. He's got the look of a guy that could be Logan O'Hoppe, could be Francisco Alvarez, kind of in the Shea Langoliers, kind of in that zone of offensive performers. And if he does that, who doesn't want that at catcher? Pretty much everyone would, because the catcher spot can be a black hole of offenses. We're all well aware. Okay, let's talk about Bryan Reynolds. Bryan Reynolds has got an issue with his right triceps. Sounds like he's going to continue to play. So this is something that we're just putting out there to keep an eye on. There's soreness that makes it difficult for him to throw. So he's been seeing some time at the DH. The problem for the Pirates is they've got DH types, as in Andrew McCutchen, that it's very difficult to get on the field if they got to play your defense. So not ideal from a Pirates perspective in terms of their offensive lineup, but it is ideal that there is now the DH in the National League, that Bryan Reynolds can still continue to hit. Obviously, he has shown an ability to consistently be in the lineup and produce. I will give Bryan Reynolds the benefit of the doubt with an injury. I wouldn't with Trevor Story. With Bryan Reynolds, So continue to watch this, but he's hopeful of staying in the lineup, even if he's not able to play defense right now for the Pirates. Speaking on the pitching side of things, just like with the hitting with Robles, it's too early to have any kind of nerves or panic with Tarik Skubal. At the same time, a couple of outings, he's been okay, but it just hasn't come together. He's 0-2, which again, record, who gives a damn? That doesn't really mean anything to me. But the fact is that things have not gone as planned with Tarik Skubal to start the season. It's the extra risk you always have with pitching. We talk about that all the time. He has actually changed. I'm looking at the numbers now. His arm angle on his fastball has increased. Instead of I'm right-handed, so I'll show you here. Instead of throwing here, he's throwing here. His fastball release point is up 5%, which is significant. So he's getting more carry on the ball, which is good. And his extension is also up a little bit. So we'll see how this plays, but the shape is better now, theoretically, if you're looking at pitch shapes and all that kind of stuff. The shape is better now than it even was last season. So while the results thus far have been slightly disappointing, that change is intriguing for a guy that won the Cy Award, right? So continue to write it out. Just wanted to put it out there. I'm sure, again, disappointment, fine. Continue to start Skubal. I think everything should be fine with Skubal. There should be no panic or concern with Skubal. Let it ride. He should be fine. Jack Leiter, very interesting. Jack Leiter was rolling along against the Reds yesterday. 5 scoreless innings. The Reds scored 14 runs, powered by the 2-home run game of Ellie De La Cruz. They scored 14 runs, and then the next 2 games, the Reds scored 0 runs. They were shut out twice by the Rangers. Oof. Jack Leiter was blazing along yesterday. 5 scoreless innings, 6 strikeouts. Left the game at about 70 pitches, I think it was, because of a blister that was starting. As of now, we're hopeful, the Rangers are hopeful that Leiter will make his next start. He is another guy that's extremely intriguing because he has also changed his attack on batters. And with the stuff that he has, that's really intriguing if he can locate his pitches. And in the early going, he absolutely is. So Jack Leiter, I can't imagine he's on waiver wires, even in shallow leagues. If he is, grab him. He's got the stuff and the pedigree to be a significant fantasy contributor. Short term, we do have that concern about the blister. You never know. Could have a start skip. Could end up on the injury list, for that 2-week period of time. But they hope that they caught it early enough. He has looked terrific at the early going for the Rangers. Some bullpen talk for folks. Jeff Hoffman had the save yesterday. He's pitched 4 times in 5 days. I know a lot of people were worried about Hoffman. We talked about it on the show, the fact that Hoffman in essence, failed a couple of physicals before he signed with the Jays. And it's like, The Jays obviously have no concerns. They pitched him 4 or 5 days. So that tells you completely that they have no concerns right now, at least with the health of Jeff Hoffman, which is great news. We've speculated what would happen with David Bednar being demoted from the 9th inning and then eventually demoted to the minor leagues. We speculated on how things would go. It's one game. Can't read too much into that. But Dennis Santana was the guy that pitched the 9th inning. Holderman pitched early in the game. As the closer grid at fantasyguru.com has said, as articles at fantasyguru.com has said, and as I have said here on the show, I was leaning Dennis Santana over Holderman for the guy that gets the first opportunity to work the 9th inning. It's one game. We can't, again, pull anything out of it. We don't know when Bednar is going to be back. We don't know when he comes back, if they're going to put him back in the 9th inning. We don't know if this is going to be a full-on committee thing. But Dennis Santana and his pants that were shorts. Did you see his pants yesterday? If you didn't, take a look at his pants. His pants legitimately didn't reach his knees. He looked like a kicker in football. It was ridiculous. He looked like he was wearing shorts and long socks. Anyway, he got the first opportunity. He was a little messy. He didn't allow any runs. He was kind of all over the place, but got the first save chance there in the bullpen for the Pirates. Luke Jackson, who we talked about, I think we talked about on Monday, right? Like I added him in labor where I needed bullpen help. I only had one closer on that team. I took a shot and spent $8 of my $100 on him. I don't think anyone else went above 4. Luke Jackson has already had a rough outing, and right after he had the rough outing, he went right back to the 9th inning for Bruce Bochy. He actually picked up his 3rd save of the season yesterday. So out of nowhere, Luke Jackson, who we did get a mention about right at the end of camp, like that last week right before the season started, Luke Jackson may be in the mix for the 9th inning. Luke Jackson right now is the closer for the Rangers. Now, whether that holds up or not, anybody's guess. Robert Garcia is still there. Obviously, Chris Martin. Again, Bruce Bochy likes one dude. If it's Luke Jackson, he's on his way to 30 saves if he doesn't implode. Really interesting how that's developed there with the Rangers. And again, another reason why saves leagues I'm not a fan of. Alexis Diaz, his hamstring injury that's caused him to be out of action for a bit. He's going to start a rehab assignment on Friday, tomorrow. The expectation is that he will return as the closer for this team. The Reds, they don't have a closer right now anyway. No one's really stepped forward to say that, we got to put Diaz in support. So Diaz is expected, I guess, back next week at some point. No one said that, but let's put it together. Pitching on Friday. Back next week and hopefully closing for the Reds by the end of next week. That's a fair thing to hope for. Zach Gallen, just want to mention a couple starters before we talk to Tyler Buecher and discuss some football. Zach Gallen, no runs allowed, 3 hits, 13 strikeouts against the Yankees yesterday. And I forget who asked me about him in Discord, and I said, I wouldn't pitch Zach Gallen. Apologies, that happens. I don't think it was, and I said yesterday, Gallen on the slate was about mid-level in terms of pitchers I'd go with. And, this early, I'm not really risking that against the Yankees and the power they have shown to date and all of that. But Gallen went out, tied a career best strikeout rate for himself, pitched phenomenally, looked better. The stuff was better. And now he's lined up to make 2 starts next week. It's against the Orioles and the Brewers, so it's not the easiest 2-step ever. But if you've missed out on it yesterday in the 13 punchouts, I think we feel pretty confident about starting him next week in the 2-stepper against the Orioles and the Brewers. Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet is so fascinating. He signed that $160 million extension. Garrett Crochet, before yesterday, obviously had never thrown 150 innings in the big leagues. Still hasn't done that. He had never thrown 8 innings at the major league level, ever. He got $160 million to the Red Sox. I hope it works out, Boston. But yesterday, he went 8 innings for the first time in his career. Gave up 4 hits, a walk, no earned runs with 8 strikeouts against the Orioles. Garrett Crochet will either do one of 2 things. He'll go full Cole Reagans this year and strike out 200-plus guys and, throw 175 innings and all that kind of stuff, or he's going to blow his arm out. Like I really don't think it's one or the other. I don't think he's going to throw 167 innings of junk. If he throws 167 innings, it's going to be a banging season. So we'll see if the durability holds up. He got the contract. He started out incredibly well. He went 8 innings for the first time last season. And, he's being drafted as an SP1. So the expectation is he goes full Tarik Skubal this season. Based upon what we saw in spring training, what we've seen thus far in the regular season, he's on pace to get there. We'll see. 30 starts is 30 starts. But the early returns with Garrett Crochet, very, very positive. Ray Flowers here of fantasyguru.com. I heard Tyler Buecher pop in and then pop out. He must be having a little bit of a tech issue, so we'll wait a second to bring him in and talk some football. Let's see, check the news and notes real quickly. Masataka Yoshida's got a shoulder issue he's been dealing with. He isn't ready for the rehab assignment. He's not ready to play defense yet. So we're expecting him back in a couple of weeks, but he's just not quite ready yet. That's probably the only news story that's really broken here. I'm just checking through. Dylan Carlson is starting today for the Orioles. Oh, by the way, Gunnar Henderson, that's a news story. He's expected to return to the Orioles lineup to start tomorrow against the Royals. So for those of you that were without Gunnar Henderson for a week, should be back out there tomorrow. Let's get ready to fire up one of the better hitters and players in the American League, if not all of baseball, and Gunnar Henderson. This is Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. We're here Monday through Friday with y'all, talking football, talking baseball, talking basketball, talking about whatever's popping in the news. And right now it's a Thursday, and it's about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, which means it's time for Tyler Buecher to jump in. And Tyler had the great idea that we started last week of looking at team needs as we head into the draft for Major League Baseball. We head into the draft for football. Today we're going to talk about the AFC North and the NFC North and some of the needs that those teams had. So let's welcome in Tyler Buecher of FG. Tyler, how you doing today, my friend?
Hey, Ray, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought I was having audio issues here. Excellent.
Yeah, no, we got you. You're in there. And we say it all the time. It really is amazing. You know, Tyler's East Coast, I'm West Coast. God knows where the feed is coming from to do this. It's amazing how we put this all together, because when I started this career, so full-time in 2001, started it in 97 part-time. Like, we didn't have video cameras. We didn't have our cell phones. I don't even know if we could text I guess you could back then, but you had to hit the button like 3 times for a C and 2 times for an E. Like, you couldn't. I've seen a lot of change, and when we dreamed 25 years ago of doing something like this, it's pretty amazing when all the tech comes together, Tyler.
Absolutely. I am now multiple hours away from my home, and I'm still able to hop on here and do a show with you, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Doing this remotely up in PA, helping my brother build a deck outside. Mm-hmm. So having fun doing that right now.
How's it going?
The voice might sound a little hoarse.
Oh, you're good. No, you're good. You're good. Is it coming together? Because I know you're helping your bro, like you said, build a deck.
Yeah, we're day one. So the planning stuff is in the rearview mirror. We're actually getting stuff done now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Tyler said, look, Ray, I can come on and talk football with you guys. I could take a 15-minute break, drink a lemonade, and help you guys out. So he's joining us. So we thank him for doing that, as he is on location, if you will. Tyler, before we dive into it, player profiles available right now at fantasyguru.com. They're blazing out. I think Jack Beck was your most recent one here, but they're flying out. You're looking at wide receivers. You're kind of part of the team there. On a daily basis, we're basically putting out a player profile of one of these youngsters heading into the draft, correct?
Yeah, there's a great number of wideouts for this specific class. That's generally what I'm kind of trying to focus on at this time in terms of the write-ups and profiles. But our whole group there is writing running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, basically getting you guys all covered for your upcoming dynasty drafts that'll happen once the NFL draft occurs in 3 weeks. It's right around the corner, it feels. So getting excited for that, pumping out some profiles for some of the big name players. And yeah, Jack Beach was an interesting prospect that I just added today. Wednesday, pardon me. Yeah, very good profile. He's one of my favorites in this class. So, yeah, very high on him. Excited to see where he lands.
You can obviously go to FG, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, sign up for the football package. You can get covered all season long, okay? You can also sign up for the franchise mode if you want to get more of the off-season coverage. Both of those will include these rookie profiles that Tyler was discussing. Tyler, let's dive into the AFC North. We'll start out there as we look toward the draft. What are some team needs? You look at Baltimore, and I think every team could basically say they need offensive line help. So that's there too. But you look at the Ravens, and a lot of defensive stuff. I'm seeing cornerback, safety, defensive line. Is that where you think they're likely to go, focus more on the defensive side than the offensive side?
Yeah, those are the big priority pieces for me. Offensive line, when we look at like the pieces that they've lost over the last 2 years collectively, it seems they've lost some heavy names there. So to me, guard is a massive liability. They would be wise to add some pieces there. And the good thing about the Ravens, they entered this year's draft with the most picks tied with San Francisco. So they've got a lot of options to retool that offensive line. The defense also needs some help, particularly defensive line, edge. I think getting some pass rushers would also be really wise. There were one guy, Odofe away from Penn State, hasn't really lived up to the round 1 billing. He's entering his contract year. So I wouldn't be shocked if he were let go at the end of the season. Kyle Van Noy on the opposite side, he's 34. He's still productive, but I think getting some youth in there would be wise. And then the middle, they lost Michael Pierce to retirement. Brent Urban was a free agent of theirs that remains unsigned. I think a third piece is needed there. Like they've got a difference maker in Justin Mabudiki, but I'd love to see them add somebody else there. Travis Jones was kind of a piece in my mind. And then safety, Kyle Hamilton's been a all-pro signing basically ever since joining the team. But yeah, I think somebody else beside him would be wise. This team last year, they really turned it on towards the back half of the season. But when we look at weeks 1 through 17, they have the third most passes of 20-plus yards. So adding another safety back there makes a lot of sense to me.
Pittsburgh always wins. Pittsburgh always makes the playoffs. Their defense is stellar. Let's focus on the offensive side of things, which I think is what they're going to do too. I guess Aaron Rodgers is going to sign here at some point. God, I hate Aaron Rodgers. He's going to sign there. I mean, it seems almost certain. Even if he does, who cares? He's a year or two, and that's it, right? His career's over. Mason Rudolph is there, but Mason Rudolph's just a dude. So they need a quarterback, whether they're early in the draft, late in the draft. They need to grab a quarterback. They've got Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. We're hearing a lot of talk about them grabbing a running back. They've got Pickens and Metcalf at the top, but they don't have much depth at the wide receiver position. So there's a lot of skill positions on the offensive side of things that it seems like the Steelers need to address in this draft, Tyler.
Yes, I'd agree with that too. The issue with quarterback with Pittsburgh is they're always constantly doing so well where they're never at the top of the draft and able to get these franchise-altering QB selections. I'm afraid to go the veteran route once again, and as much as we don't like talking about Aaron Rodgers, I think we're going to be stuck with another year of it, unfortunately.
Right.
The plan cannot be to go with Mason Rudolph right now.
Right.
It just makes no sense. Maybe we get lucky and they get like Jackson Dart. Maybe he falls to them at number 21 overall in the first round.
Right.
It's very likely. I mean, he's not considered a top 5, top 10 prospect, but to some, he's the number 1 quarterback in the class. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some general managers echo that sentiment and be willing to spend a round 1 pick on a quarterback, which, again, remains the most important position in all of football. So if you're not taking swings at the QB position, I think you're just setting your franchise up for failure, especially if you're doing it without with the current state of QBs this squad has. And then running back, like they let Najee walk. They brought in Kenneth Gainwell, who's, in my eyes, kind of a duplicate skill set to Jalen Warren as more of a pass-catching option. So adding a big-bodied back would make a ton of sense here. I think Caleb Johnson out of Iowa would be a good add here. And then the interior of the defensive line, they're getting pretty old there. Cam Hayward, no spring chicken, 36 years old. They let Larry Ogunjobi walk in free agency. So reloading the interior of the defense makes a lot of sense here, given their needs.
Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Thursday, including on location today. We appreciate that. Let's go to the Bengals. It seems like the Bengals have one good defensive player in Trey Hendrickson, and it seems like they're not going to figure this out. Hendrickson is a star. He was on Pat McAfee the other day, I think it was yesterday, and said, I don't want a 2-year extension. I want to be somewhere where I can tell my wife this is where we're going to raise our family. They already gave huge contract extensions to both the wide receivers. I don't know what the Bengals are going to do with Hendrickson, but they can't afford to lose him because not only do they need help on defense, they need help on defense. This team can't be expected to win every game 34-31. Is it so bad that it's almost like we're not even taking an offensive player in this draft if we're the Bengals? Like, is it just got to be all defense?
All 3 levels could use some help. Defensive line, edge, look at the linebacker position. They could use some upgrade. And their safety is also, to me, they're pretty weak. Cornerback, they've got some talent, but they're not upper-end talent. So I'm curious to see what they do. They've got a new defensive coordinator here, Al Golden. Lou Anarumo has departed, so I'm excited to see how they do in terms of a transition. You nailed it, though, in terms of Trey Hendrickson being the first person we should talk about. Could hold out. I would not be shocked about that, given how much he brings and the value he has specifically to this team and this defense. They brought back Joseph Asai, but this guy had a 7.6% pressure rate last year. That was 72nd among all edge rushers. It really was a one-man show with Hendrickson. So not bringing him back, not paying him, we could be looking at the T. Higgins contract and being like, this was a poor move several years from now. I'm interested to see how that one plays out. I'll be honest. Safety, though, I talked about that. Geno Stone, Jordan Battle. I don't like either of these guys. They're not starting caliber safeties. The interior of the offensive line could also be a spot where they address. I know we talked defense pretty heavily there, but the Bengals led the league in pass rate over expectation, given that high volume of dropbacks. It's wild that this was a team that finished last year with a pair of interior guards that were bottom 10 in pass blocking. Getting some help there would be really wise. I mean, we saw year one of Burrow's campaign. I think that was the 2020 season where he just kept getting sacked time and time again, where improving the offensive line was such a priority. I think they've kind of gotten away from that. They've lost Trent Brown this offseason. They lost Alex Kappa this offseason. Yeah, addressing offensive line seems like a big need for how much emphasis they're placing on this quarterback and passing attack, given the signings of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I like some of the moves they've done this offseason. The Bengals enter this draft, in my mind, where they're not pressed to solely focus on offense. They can just hit defense relentlessly.
Tyler, we got the Browns at the number 2 pick, Titans number 1. It's not often that we don't really know who's going to go number 1. I think everyone's kind of thinking Cam Ward, obviously, to the Titans is kind of gaining momentum there, but it's not a certainty. What is certain is the Browns, I mean, come on, Kenny Pickett, come on. He's not the franchise quarterback they need. So they're in play for a quarterback there at the 2 pick. They obviously basically need to redo the entire roster. They're in a rebuild mode. We all know that. They could use help at the running back. They could use help on the offensive line, which was a strength a couple years ago and deteriorated super quickly. They could use help on the defensive side of things to help Myles Garrett out. Talk us through the Browns? Lots of needs here with this team.
For sure, and I think it starts at quarterback. Like, that's the biggest position of need. Entering the season with right now Kenny Pickett and Bailey Zappi in a QB battle doesn't look great to me. I know they had talks about possibly bringing in Carson Wentz too, but we're not. This is not the long-term solution here. So spending the number 2 over pick, I made one bet already this offseason on the NFL draft, and it's Shedeur Sanders, number 2 overall.
Okay, that's
not a conviction in Sanders. It's more of a conviction in the importance of the quarterback play and teams drafting at the top and their need for QBs. This team specifically, I think they'd be very wise to distance themselves from the Deshaun Watson saga. Just fresh page. Let's start over. Brand new quarterback, new regime. And again, that starts with the quarterback position. The big money they gave to Myles Garrett makes defensive end Abdul Carter kind of a secondary need, because they also brought in the edge rusher Joe Tyron from the Bucks, who was a former first-round pick as well. We'll see how that goes. I mean, he's more of a rotational piece in my mind, but edge certainly seems like a need, but I would almost say Abdul Carter feels like a luxury pick. Running back, I think, is also a big need. Nick Chubb remains unsigned. Jerome Ford is the presumed starter. Not great. He had some opportunities last year and was more miss than hit in terms of his ability to put up productive fantasy weeks. And this could also be a team, like I talk about how a quarterback can redefine a franchise. Travis Hunter, in my mind, could also be that similar player. They have a need for wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy's their top guy. And when you finish that sentence as such, it leaves you wanting more. Yeah. I think Travis Hunter could sell tickets, which is what this team's looking like. Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. I think David Bell is slotted to be their current slot guy. It's not moving the needle. So Travis Hunter could be an interesting pick too. So I'm really, really excited to see what they do with number 2, because to me, that's where the draft starts. We were pretty much tied with number 1 and Cam Ward. That's not going anywhere. Excited to see how this one plays out though, because Cleveland, number of picks.
You think the Browns could trade? We've heard that rumor too, that, get multiple picks because they're looking for so many needs. You think that's at least in play?
Absolutely, which is why I made the bet specifically of Shedeur Sanders, number 2, and not Cleveland Brown taking quarterback or whatever.
Okay.
It was a cheeky move, quote unquote. But yeah, that I think it's definitely a possibility. Andrew Berry, listen, he's been there since 2020. He's made some good GM moves, some poor GM moves. I think this will be a defining class for him for sure.
Yeah, they haven't had a first-round pick in like 3 years, right? Like, it's been a while.
Yeah, because of that Watson trade.
Yep. Tyler Buecher, FantasyGuru.com, joins us every Thursday here. Let's talk about the NFC North. And you look at Detroit, and obviously fantastic season, 15-2, and didn't end the way they anticipated. You can look at the offense and say, wait, maybe we got a need here or there. But really, I think it's probably about defense with the Lions. They lost Aiden Hutchinson last year, which was obviously huge. Everyone got injured last year on their defense at some point. Like, it was just amazing. I would think that, focusing on the defensive side of things is probably what they'll do with the majority of their picks. Maybe I'm wrong there. What's your take on the Lions, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, edge rusher across from Aiden Hutchinson was a revolving door last year. Marcus Davenport, I think he was a former first-rounder pick from the Vikings several years back. I think he played one game and got injured. And then they just kept trying to throw S at the wall, hoping it stuck with a lot of veteran signings. None of them really panned out. So I think adding somebody here and not going the Zadarius Smith route again would make sense here. They pick at number 28 overall, so they're kind of later in the draft class. But adding a top edge rusher is paramount in my eyes. And then when I look at the defense, the linebacker setup is pretty darn good. Jack Campbell, early capital from a few years back. Alex Anzalone, the green dot, he plays really well. The corners, I think we have to give Terry and Arnold some more time. He was a first-round pick last year. Not the best rookie season, not at all. But they did add quite a few free agents in free agency here at the corner position. DJ Reed from the Jets, longtime starter across from Sauce Gardner, joins. Avonte Maddox, a former slot corner for the Eagles, and then Rock Ya-Sin, who's bounced around from team to team over the last few years. So they're trying to. This is a team that continues to throw what they can at the corner position, and I think DJ Reed might be an answer. Problem is, he's a 5'9" corner on the outside. I'll also add offensive line, I think, is also a big need. Right guard is the weakest part of this offensive line after seeing Zeitler's departure. Left guard, Glasgow, he turns 33 before the season starts. So between those two players, I think adding some youth there makes sense, given the identity of this offense and how much they rely on that offensive line and the run game. And then speaking of the run game, I think this backfield really does well when there's a two-man system here. And Craig Reynolds is currently the third back on the depth chart. So if we get an injury to either one of the heavy hitters in Gibbs or Montgomery, we're going to see a lot of Reynolds. And I don't think that's the play. I think given how deep this class is specifically, they would be really wise to spend. I don't think they have to spend a top 100 pick, but maybe a round 3, round 4, round 5 selection at RB would make sense.
Talking some team needs heading into the NFL draft in 2025 with Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. We just discussed the AFC North. We're obviously discussing the NFC North right now. I'll continue these profiles by groupings here the next couple of weeks with Tyler as well. Let's move on to Minnesota. And, I think Minnesota, kind of like the Bengals, probably focusing more on the defensive side of things than the offensive side of things in this draft. But something everyone's pointing out, I think they only have 4 picks. So they just don't have, in opposition to Baltimore having all these picks, the Vikings don't have many picks. So what are they going to do with their limited 4 picks this season, Tyler?
Yep, you nailed it. Fewest picks in this year's draft class. 4 picks is not great. 24, 97, 139, and then 187. Just 2 top 100 picks. So they really need to hit some home runs here. The GM, though, I'll give him a lot of flowers and kudos. I really like what he's done over the past few seasons. And I really like what the defensive coordinator for the Vikings continues to do year after year with his insane blitz ability. It basically allows him to play with subpar players, knowing that I'm just going to throw pressure at you and make you make mistakes. The free agent period, they added 2 big wall movers and Jonathan Allen at defensive tackle, Javon Hargrave at defensive tackle. They re-signed Byron Murphy. They brought in Jeff Okudah, a former first-round pick. They added some big maulers on the offensive line in Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. They re-signed Aaron Jones. They brought in Jordan Mason via trade. For a team with 4 draft picks, they handled free agency about as well as he could. So really want to give them their due flowers. But safety to me seems like a massive spot there. If you play in the IDP leagues, you know how valuable these safeties are for this Viking squad and how often 3 of them are on the field. To see them let go of Cam Bynum and let him go to the Colts was a kick in the nuts to me. I thought he was such a darn difference maker. To let him go makes me upset. Harrison Smith is 36. Then they got Josh Metellus. So hold on one second.
That's all right. Yeah, sometimes you get caught up there, Tyler. Oftentimes with me, it's I get not dry mouth, but I ramble on so fast that I understand. I understand the need to take a sip. So thank you.
Pardon me. I've been sick for the last 3 days. But yeah, Bynum's departure to me really elevates that need at safety. And then perimeter corner too. I think last year's starter, Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, both those guys are out. So getting some replacements there would make sense.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Let's move on to the Bears. And Ben Johnson didn't waste any time. He came in and they're making signings all over the place. The offensive line, they're bolstering things. Like they're really setting up Carson Williams for – Carson Williams. Why am I saying Carson Williams? Help me out. Is that his name? Or am I just drawing a blank? Caleb Williams. Jeez, I'm thinking. I got too many sports in my head there, Tyler. Caleb Williams they're obviously setting up for a lot of success. What do you see the Bears doing here? Because again, they've already been very active in the free agent market. What do you see them trying to accomplish on draft day or days?
Yeah, when I look at the active free agency moves they've made, mostly in the trenches, they added Joe Thuney via trade, Jonah Jackson via trade, added center Drew Dahlman, and then the weapons they added lesser caliber guys: Devin Duvernay, Olamide Zaccheaus, and then tight end Durham Smythe. I made their number one need playmaker, so they have the number 10 overall pick. To me, if Ashton Giante's there, they go for it. They could go their pick of the litter at wide receiver. They're probably going to be the first one to take one off the board. Or even a tight end like Tyler Warren, who is an absolute game changer in what he brings to an offense. So basically adding some juice to this overall offense is what I'd love to see them give Ben Johnson in terms of adding some of their dynamic playmakers and expanding what they have there. The offensive line moves this offseason really kind of downgrades any other additions there, but maybe tackle if they're not sold on Braxton Berrios or Braxton Jones, pardon me, as the guy for the rest of Caleb's contract, because Braxton Jones is entering the final year of his rookie contract. Edge also seems like a big need. Montez Sweat needs somebody across from him. And then safety Jaquan Brisker, like his concussions last year were just kind of very worrisome, the type where he misses like multiple games, the kind where we're like, okay, let's shove you off gently into retirement. Kevin Byard also turns 32. Jonathan Owens turns 30. So, some youth there would make sense to me at safety position. Those are the big needs I got.
Final team to review today is the Green Bay Packers, Tyler. And everyone wants this team to sign a wide receiver, right? We've seen Jalen Reed. We've seen Romeo Doubs. We've seen Christian Watson. We've seen Dontavian Wicks. We've seen all these guys at times pop. There was even some comments that came out, and I guess Jaden Reed got a little ticked off because they were talking about this team needs a wide receiver one. He's like, hey, look at me. Everyone wants a wide receiver. I don't know if that's the best use of early draft capital for the Packers, though. What do you think? I mean, it seems like to me they have some needs in the trenches in particular, but the fans are obviously clamoring for that elite level wide receiver.
I agree with you. I don't think it's the biggest need. When we look at like previous draft tendencies, this team hasn't drafted a round one receiver since 2002. They lack a true number one wideout. Christian Watson likely won't be available for half the year, if not more. So sure, I get the need, but I'm on the same page as you, where I don't think it's the biggest pressing need for this squad. To me, that more lies at edge. Getting some pass rush help makes sense. Like getting an X factor, a guy that can close out games whenever they're in the fourth quarter and the other team's in an obvious passing situation, just to get them over that hump in a really, really tough division. And there should be some quality edge options there at number 23 overall, their first round selection. And then cornerback, like what's going on with Jair Alexander? Very strange season this past year. And then looking beyond him, this team has multiple guys that fit as an inside slot corner, but not guys on the outside. And it's a very different position trying to do that. So instead of trying to force like a slot guy like Nate Hobbs on the outside, a guy that they added in free agency, I would rather see them go and pick up somebody in the draft, get a legitimate perimeter corner. They let Eric Stokes go this past offseason, who was starting on the outside. Corey Ballentine was a defensive back that played all over for them as well. So getting some guys on the outside would be helpful for them. And then you can also add the interior of the defensive line. They need some maulers there. Just some upgrades are needed.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. By the way, Tyler's best ball rankings are available at fantasyguru.com right now for football. Have you been putting teams together? Have you kind of backed off that a little bit as you're starting the coverage of the draft? Where do we stand with that, Tyler?
Yeah, we've got a lot of slow, what are they called? Little boards going on right now, whether it's their pre-draft drafts. They'll be closing up before the end of April here, but I'll do another wave of updates here in the next week or so, but it's not going to be a big major overhaul until we get the landing spots for these rookies.
Right. Yeah. So that's available right now at fantasyguru.com. We talked earlier about the team and Tyler putting out the player profiles for the rookies heading into the draft cycle here. Who else is coming up soon from you, Tyler? You got some names that you can share that say, hey, these guys are on the horizon?
I do. Let me actually pull that up.
Yeah, that's fine. I probably should ask you that before we started. Yeah. I know. You're traveling and doing decks and dealing with the illness and all that. Who's coming up?
We've got Mississippi wide receiver Trey Harris, and we got Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Noel. So those are two guys I wrote up. They're already on the website, ready to go. But yeah, the content's written and I'm excited for that to be published. These are, how do I want to say this? This class has, I think, some difference makers, but it's largely a group of contributors than heavy hitters. And to me, Trey Harris is more of a contributor. Noel kind of in that same bucket. They're probably not going to be the guys that move the needle and guys that you are trying to trade up for in terms of your rookie drafts, but that doesn't mean they're non-zeros in terms of having fantasy potential. So they're guys that have some positives in terms of their profiles, but they're not players that I am moving heaven and heck to go acquire.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Doesn't want to swear. What a wholesome guy.
Yeah.
Do you swear accidentally? Like I've never sworn on Sirius XM, and I've been on for like almost 15 years. I think 15 years now, whatever it is. So I'm able to cut the potty talk off when I'm doing this. I've never heard you swear either. Do you swear in your private life? Are you a sailor off screen?
Yeah, I'll let them loose every now and then. I try to be a bit more professional when I can, though.
Oh, that's good. Not everyone we work with is that way. Oh my gosh. I said it. Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. He's with us every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can find his work, obviously, over at the website, fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for the seasonal football package. Get signed up for the franchise mode if you just want the off-season coverage. That does include the UFL. If you want to get involved with us there. Tyler obviously does great work as well as the rest of the team. Tyler, when the deck is done, snap a photo. We'd love to see it next week. So if you don't mind sharing that, snap a photo, send it to me. We can get it posted for next week. Hope it comes together. We'll hope you feel better. And thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me. And hope you guys all have a great week.
He's Tyler Buecher. We'll visit tomorrow with Russell Clay. He'll join us at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. The show will start at about 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with our traditional baseball talk on a Friday. I am Ray Flowers for Tyler Buecher. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner and get signed up. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily today, powered by fantasyguru.com.